lights, the crowd, the moments we call home. Remember the Alamodome.
This is the official Remember the Alamodome podcast, where we'll both recall epic moments and celebrate the vibrant future of the Alamodome. Download, save, and share. Remember the Alamodome.
Welcome, everybody, to Remember the Alamodome, our podcast about what is, what will be, and what has been about the greatest, most diverse sports facility in the country, says me. I'm Richard Oliver, the communications manager for where do I do? I'm trying to think of
a mouthful.
There's
Richard.
a lot of stuff going on here, the communications manager for here at the Alamodome, and along with Victor Caballero, the marketing manager for the Alamodome. And we're so pleased now to have Derrick Fox, the president and CEO of the Valero Alamo Bowl, joining us today because, Derrick, we thought about it, 2026, looking ahead at the Alamodome and what it's meant to this community, and also the different things that are about to happen regarding the Alamodome. And it always comes back to the Valero Alamo Bowl as being just that foundation event that's been here all these years. That's why it's so great to have you here to talk about this facility, but also about a great event.
Well, Richard and Victor, thanks for having us, and so good to be here. It's funny looking out the window here from that perspective, and just thinking about when I first got here, the Alamodome was still under construction. So now here we are, 33 games later, and had another memorable finish last week in the Valero Alamo Bowl. Something about TCU and those walk-off endings. And
unbelievable.
Comeback. So I think somebody had a post out there about next team that takes a bid in the Valero Alamo Bowl against TCU, pass. Right?
That's right, because TCU is going to win one way or the other.
It's been miraculous, but this has been a great facility, and it really is something that's done tremendous things for our community. And you look at the bowl and just what we've done over the 33-year history here. You're talking about over $1 billion in economic impact for our city. 1.9 million people coming to the doors to our games. $172 million we contribute to higher education to the teams, but another $13 million in scholarships here locally. So if not for the Dome, none of that's possible.
Yeah, other than that, the Alamo Bowl doesn't do a whole lot. Yeah, that event. As we talk about the Alamodome and what it is, it's pretty interesting as you look at the evolution of the Alamo Bowl. You can also see the evolution of the Alamodome, and the things that are happening. And I know that there's things that you aspire to as the head of that game, that event regarding the Alamodome and what it can be. As we look forward. That's one of the things today that we wanted to talk about, the idea of the Alamodome as a facility that's hosted this wonderful game year after year. ESPN, I think it's one of the top-rated games every year, other than maybe the college football playoffs now. This is a game that when you look at it and you look at how the Alamodome has grown, you've got great aspirations for the future.
Absolutely. And I think one of the exciting things is, look what we've done for 33 years. But more importantly, let's look to the future. Where can we be? Kind of ironic that we exist from that perspective right now, but obviously we don't know exactly what we are even for 26. We're still waiting on the CFP decision. That'll affect conference realignment or conference alignment for bowl games. We're very fortunate. Valero's our title sponsor, and ESPN's been our TV partner since the beginning. So been tremendous. But as we look to the future, we certainly, once the election passed here, and obviously Project Marvel or the Sports Entertainment District was approved, from that perspective, we were reaching out to our colleagues at the CFP to say, hey, got lots of great momentum, positive things going on here in our city. Talking a lot about the Spurs Arena first.
Right.
But next up is the Alamodome. And obviously that's the one thing that we've heard from the CFP is, hey, love you guys. Look at what you guys are doing from that perspective. But the Dome as it is today doesn't match up when you can go to any city in the country, any facility in the country, just doesn't quite stack up. So what we want to do is obviously have that conversation with the CFP to say, okay, as we're looking to our future, what's important to you? We want to make sure as we're looking at the renovations for this facility, we take care of those things that are important to you. Same thing for the NCAA Final Four and other events. I'm sure you're looking at concert promoters, boxing promoters, soccer promoters, whatever. We want to make sure that we're making a great business decision for our community for the next 30 years.
And what's interesting is you're at a crossroads as an event, and we could talk about the Alamodome and the evolution of what's going to happen with the Alamodome. But I mean, again, you mentioned Valero. This was the last event so far that you're under the Valero umbrella. The Big Ten, the Pac-12, that kind of goes away. You've been kind of wrestling with that over the last couple of years. Who's coming in here to play? That kind of thing. I don't remember over in the history of the Alamo Bowl where you've been in this kind of a crossroads before. The next few months/years are going to be really interesting.
Absolutely. I know I usually just work one day a year, so I guess I'm going to have to work a couple. But it's, it's tremendous. And you really want to give a shout out to Valero. I mean, they've been our sponsor since day one, but they've been our title sponsor for 19 years running. Hopefully that continues for many years to come. And thank goodness we have them in our community. They do so many different things and do great things. But to your point, I mean, we're at a very interesting time. I kind of jokingly say over the last couple of years, unfortunately, with the demise of the Pac-12, really we had to be creative and talk to all the different conferences to say, hey, we need to make sure we have a workaround for 24 and 25 so that we maintain the same relationship, same conference selection rights that we had, put forward the same game we had year in and year out. But at the same time, say, hey, let's look towards 26 and beyond. So now upcoming January 23rd, here in a few weeks after the CFP championship game, that's when the CFP has to decide what does the format look like for 26 and beyond. Could stay at 12 if they don't come to any decision for as little as 1 year. Could be 6 years. Could expand to 16. There have been 24-team playoff formats thrown out there. So a lot of moving parts right now. But with that, there's a lot of opportunity going forward as well. So we look forward to CFP making their decision. And one of the good things about having these, kind of awkward conversations that we've had over the last couple of years is when you ask them, hey, do you want to play in the Valero Alamo Bowl and play in San Antonio and play in the Dome? And the answer is yes. I'm like, perfect. Let's have a further conversation when we have a chance to get into that a little bit deeper.
Well, as a Texas A&M grad, I would like to see a double elimination tournament format. And I don't want to. I know Victor's got a lot of questions for you too, but I think one of the things about the Alamo Bowl that's been, and I know you'd like to say it's because of the great leadership of the Alamo Bowl, but you have had some games that have been unbelievable. We were joking about TCU, but they have been part of some really memorable games. This event, as far as it being a showcase for the community, for San Antonio, from the financial aspect, the economic impact, but just the idea of having that ESPN spotlight, the showcase that it is for San Antonio. Can you talk a little bit about what that means to the city?
Yeah, absolutely. When you think about it, and we try to make this an annual holiday tradition for San Antonians, much like you have the rodeo and different events that happen every year, you want people to support the Valero Alamo Bowl every year, independent of the teams. And we've gotten that steady support each and every year. Now, yes, you want tourism, you want people coming in. And that's another thing that makes our city so unique is that there's a lot of cities like, hey, welcome to our city, now go home, right?
Right.
Not here. Hey, welcome to San Antonio. Stay for a couple extra days. By the way, we've got New Year's, got a great party downtown. Stay another night. So that's what makes our city so unique. And the walkability and those type of things just is off the charts. So that's why we say the one thing that we've had kind of against us, and this is nothing against the Alamodome. It's a great venue. It's been paid for years from that perspective. And if not for the Dome, just of all the opportunities we would not have had. Now look forward to making these renovations, making this reinvestment in our community to really drive our future. That's the exciting part.
$1.2 billion, Victor. By every break out your abacus, that's a lot of money impact for the city.
And I did want to talk about that a little bit, right? Because we talk about these numbers and we throw around, $13 million in scholarships, over $1 billion in economic impact to the city. And, one could think of those numbers and it's just kind of like white noise in the background. But what is that? Like, if you really get down into what is $1 billion of economic impact, how does that really affect the folks in San Antonio, not only downtown, but around the city? I mean, people are going and visiting all parts of San Antonio. During the Valero Alamo Bowl this past TCU game against USC, folks were asking me, what's the best mall to go to? And I'm like, go to where the big boots are, right? Because that's where you're going to want to go and find some deals, right? But, can you just kind of break down in your years of experience, since you've been here with the Valero Alamo Bowl, what does that look like at the community level?
Oh, absolutely.
Those numbers.
And I think that's what makes it so fun, too, is you see a chance to, fans coming in from outside our community kind of take over and see the colors of the event, So right. Last week in purple and red from that perspective, the two teams, in and year out, you see that. But it really is a chance to then see those people later on. They go out and go to other bowl games and have a chance to talk about what a great, unique experience San Antonio was, how different it was. You talked about coaches here last week talking about just how important not only the bowl experience is, but they specifically cited this game. Their personal experiences with this game dating back to obviously Coach Leach, Texas Tech history from that perspective on both sides with the lineage from Coach Dykes and Coach Riley. So it makes it so much fun. But talking about the impact, it's not just the people here in the building that are impacted. Like you talk about, it's the hotels, it's the Uber drivers, it's the people who work on the Riverwalk, to the people who run golf courses, to the people who even take a road trip to the hill country. I know you want people to stay here in San Antonio, but if you're here for 4 or 5 days, you want to venture out and check out the experience and what's going on. So that's what makes it special too, is to see the different parts of this community and the surrounding area that really embraces it. And that's what makes it fun. I remember back in 99, or 95, I should say, when A&M was the first time, that's really when I heard this community talk about our bowl game. And that's when it really clicks from that perspective. Yeah. And then when you have the city embrace that, that's awesome.
And if, somebody's never been to the Valero Alamo Bowl, it's more than what happens inside the stadium. I mean, you guys, have the festival, which is touching different parts of the cities. There are things happening at local hotels. There are things happening on the Riverwalk. There's things happening at the Arneson River Theater. There are after parties. There are tailgate parties. It is weeks worth of entertaining a bunch of folks. And, talk a little bit about that. You said you only work 1 day a year, but I know that, all of that planning, that is NCAA men's Final Four type planning, because that's how many events that the Valero Alamo Bowl has during that week. So how much planning goes into all of those events?
Oh yeah, you're kicking things off. I mean, we're working right now on 26, even though we don't have a game date set, right? We don't even know what our matchup is at this point in time, but you're planning for that. And the River Rally is a great example of an iconic event for San Antonio. And when you laugh when the teams first come to town on their advanced trip, you talk about, we're going to do this River Rally. The players are going to get on these boats. They're going to go through the channels and head into the Arneson River Theater and have a pep rally. You can just see the DFO kind of rolling their eyes like, oh, yeah, this is great. I can't wait. I'm going to get these guys on the barge and doing all these different things. And I tell you, by the time they hit the Arneson River Theater, you can't get them off.
Yeah, they love
Cameras are going, you can't get the microphone off. As a matter of fact, sometimes they're handing them off to the people. And people are literally in those stands for hours. It's a free pep rally. But the interaction and the energy you see there, and just the beauty shots. You talk about the ESPN shots of the game. Those are certainly things that it's like, aha, that's San Antonio. Another great thing that we can do here. Where else can you have teams walk to the game and walk home? Yeah. I remember even walking some people after the game, over to the Uber pickup spot, just can check it out, right? Put eyes on things, make things working. Here's like 20 USC players, guys, their jerseys still had their face paint on, walking back with their parents, after the game. It's like, wow, it's pretty cool, pretty special. You can do that as opposed to loading a bus and driving an hour back to your hotel.
Kind of nice how you guys arrange the weather too. It's nice, Derrick's he's got a lot more power than you think he does. Listen,
72 kickoff every year. I got that
every year. It's been 80 degrees during the day outside. People are playing golf. We talk about the Alamo Bowl in particular and the impact. But I wanted to get back for a second to something you said. You were talking about the college football landscape. The Alamo Bowl's kind of caught up in what's happening as an overview. I mean, this is a really unique time in the country regarding college football, something we all love. But there is so much going on. I mean, we were joking off the air about all the different acronyms. What are we going to call it next? But the college football playoff, it looked. I'd say it worked. It's worked so far,
except the A&M loss.
Except for that A&M loss, which I think we need to scrub that from the war. But but the whether it expands or moves on, but a lot of things that are happening also are kind of impacting you as far as players sitting out of bowl games. Some teams don't even want to play in bowl games. Those kind of different kind of things. What about the overview of what's happening with college football? I mean, you've been involved, you've been plugged in for a long time now. Where are we at right now?
Yeah, definitely at a big inflection point, and things just steadily evolve from that perspective. And there's layers upon layers of things right now that need to be addressed, really one inside another. And we talk about the CFP, January 23rd, their decision has to be made. Great, there is a decision that's going to be made there one way or not. But also, I think you need to take a look at the overall football calendar from that perspective. Right now, does it make sense the way it currently exists, or there's been conversations about moving it up? It's really kicking off on the 0 weekend, maybe giving a bye weekend here or there, and continue to play through the traditional January 1st-ish timeframe and kind of focus on that typical college football window. Because I think one of the things you see right now is the CFP starts running up against the NFL. Mm-hmm. As big as the CFP is, nobody's bigger than the NFL. Right. So you start having some challenges on dates and those type of things. The other thing, obviously, is the transfer portal, and NIL. Those two things are somewhat linked. No other sport, and I made this comment to the NCAA people. I said, why don't you guys open up your portal when the NCAA March Madness teams are just set? At 68 teams in, open up the portal. No way, right? You wouldn't do that. Well, we're doing that in football. So that's just an example where let the season play out. And that's for everybody. That's for the players, for the coaches, because so many decisions are now being made early on that the unintended consequences are, like for us this past year, we had players sit out the bowl game that probably would have loved to play in our game. I've never had anybody in my 33 years come back and go, gee whiz, I'm sorry I played in your game.
Yeah.
Never.
Yeah.
Right? That just doesn't happen. But if you're going to get X million dollars to sit out because the team you're going to go to doesn't want you to get hurt, it's a business decision. I understand that. We as an industry sometimes take the hit for that from that perspective and have no control over it. But at the end of the day, there's a pretty entertaining game on December 30th in the Valero Alamo Bowl. Some players had a chance to step up and make some history of their own. And that's kind of the fun and special thing about the bowl season too, is that these lasting memories that last a lifetime for the players, the fans, talk about all the different experiences. And it's okay to be different. The CFP is really a glorified road game, week after week after week. So you lose some of that bowl uniqueness and flavor that we know from that perspective. For those of us who aren't currently in the CFP, maybe someday we will, let us do what we do, which is showcase our community, have those events, have those special touches that makes that experience different as opposed to just another glorified road game.
And how close are we to being in the CFP? What do we need?
This facility has to be updated, quite honestly. And again, that's the biggest message we keep getting back from the CFP is, hey, we love San Antonio. We've seen great things from what you guys are doing with the Valero Alamo Bowl year in and year out. Talk about the attendance and TV ratings. We're at or near the top of the non-CFP bowls every year. Love the experience. They talk to their counterparts in the NCAA. I'm sure you've heard them say, if we had a chance to host it, every 4 years in San Antonio, we'd love to, right? Same thing. Now let's update this facility to now be comparable to others. Doesn't have to be brand new, but make sure we got all the bells and whistles that the others have. We win outside from that perspective every day. Let's win inside the building too.
Right.
You were talking about the emotion, a couple of things. One, you were talking about the emotion of the players and the experience that they have when they're here. And I got to tell you, if you haven't seen our social media pages, either the Valero Alamo Bowl or the Alamodome social media pages, go and check out the video of the players after, when they're about to do the trophy presentation and during the trophy presentation and after the trophy presentation. My background has not been events and sports events has not been a part of my background until I moved here. My background has been broadcast media, but being on the field when that happens is truly a remarkable experience. And I think just watching it on social media will take you there. The camera folks that are on the field when that happens, that just speaks to, being able to provide those experiences and those moments for those players, which I think is great. I was going to ask you, what do you think it is that puts the Valero Alamo Bowl at the top of the ratings in comparison to other bowls?
Well, it's a couple of things. One, we've got great matchups. You try to get the best possible matchups each and every year from that perspective. We jokingly say to the teams in their walkthroughs, hey, we want to make it a high score and, forget this defensive struggle, and overtime is great. And fortunately, we've had that from that perspective. But you truly do want to make it entertaining. And because you have the right matchups from that perspective, you've got a controlled environment. You're in a dome. We take it for granted. We work here every day. You lose sight of that. There are so many people we have come back that haven't been in San Antonio in years. Like, oh man, last game we played was in the Dome in the Valero Alamo Bowl, and that was the only game in my college career I played in the Dome. Because so many of these kids play in outdoor environments. So the Dome, and when it's just loud and full, there's almost no place like it. It's just reverberating everywhere, and so that experience is just great. You talk about the players, afterwards. And the experiences they have, look at, I saw, the Ken Seals video when obviously he throws that pass and just literally collapses to his knees when the running back runs it in for a touchdown. And all those memories come back. And to have Bram Kohlhausen here last game after his tragic accident, several years ago, 10 years from his big moment, right? And he was the backup. So something about being a backup quarterback in this game with TCU, it works out pretty well for them too. So I don't really want to schedule that every year if we can from that perspective. You like to have the starters. But again, given the opportunity, somebody's going to step up. And that's what makes it so unique and different. A couple of years ago, there was somebody named Bijan Robinson, who was a backup at Texas, right? Yeah. And all of a sudden he got a chance in our game. So, yes, it's important about the players. The name on the back is important, but the name on the front's pretty important too.
So for the layman that doesn't really know like what goes into the team selection, like are you sending them cookies? Like how do you what team? How do you actually say like, hey, we want you, and what has to happen if the team you want? What do you have to do to try to secure that team?
Yeah, get down and say please. Right now, with our current conference arrangements, basically we have the first choice from these two conferences outside the CFP. So the CFP's got to go ahead and make their choices, and we literally sit here down in our office, watch the show. As soon as the CFP rankings are out, we know what they are. We now know who's off the board, we know who's available to us, and within 15 minutes we're on the clock. Well, leading up to that, we obviously start traveling middle of the year, establish relationships, because you can watch on TV and get the style of play from that perspective. But as silly as this sounds, going on the college campuses and walking through those tailgate parties, the suites, and hearing those boosters, 9-3 at one school is, hey, we're renewing everybody. We've got a Heisman Trophy winner, greatest year ever. 9-3 other places, maybe we're making some changes, and it'd be okay if you don't take us from that perspective. But the beauty of it, since we're at the higher end of the spectrum currently, most everybody's going to want to come here. Sometimes they'll say, hey, back-to-back is not ideal, but the right opponent, it'll work out. But at the end of the day, we're like, yeah, but back-to-back to San Antonio, the Valero Alamo Bowl, that's a pretty good deal. And with the turnover of the players now, the teams are dramatically different year over year too. So before it's kind of like, you want to give the players a different experience. Teams are different.
Yeah. It's interesting you mentioned that. It's the old Jerry Seinfeld joke that you worship the laundry. you don't know if it has, whatever your Aggies for me on the jersey. Whoever that guy is, I don't know who he is. That backup wide receiver that they just signed from Oregon or whatever. But something. But you talk about the impact of we've talked about the impact of the different things that have happened to the Alamo Bowl over the years. But what's interesting, Derrick, is more than half the bowl games this year lost attendance. You had 54,000, so you had a good solid attendance, but I think that was a little down from your average over the years.
Down for us.
Have we reached a saturation point as far as the number of bowls? Do we need to have a rethink as far as that checklist, that lineup of bowl games every year?
Well, it's funny because every year the market kind of dictates that, and we hear year in and year out, you don't want to be that team that's left out, from the other side. What do the conferences want? They want every opportunity for their student athletes. Well, then you get a year like this year, and you have several teams opt out. It's like you can't have it both ways. It would be kind of like us saying, I don't like the matchup this year. We're passing.
Yeah,
go ahead. You have my pick, right? From that perspective,
right? No,
we're honoring this, and that's part of the society today too. Is somewhat to the players. Hey, you can honor that commitment to be here. I mean, it's a little bit unique that we're now in a position where, I've re-signed to come back, right? It's just a different world that we're in, and that's fine. I'm fine with the players making money, but also there's a certain commitment and obligation. So I think collectively what we all need to do is the conferences need to evaluate from the schools and players, hey, how important is the postseason experience to you? How deep do we want to go? And that's why there's kind of this layer that starts with how many teams are in the CFP, and then how deep you want to go beyond that. Because you really want it so it's a special experience for everybody. I've been here long enough to know that when we first went to the 12-game schedules, the Bulls defined the deserving winning team as 7-5. Right. And that lasted for 1 year. The NCAA said, good, we like that. And then some conferences wanted more opportunities, so they came up with 6-6. Okay, fine. So there are more bowls that come up because of that. The challenge with that is now if teams opt out or certain things happen, the de facto fallback becomes 5-7. That just doesn't sound great, right? That doesn't define a winning season. And hey, some cases when a team gets there and haven't been in a bowl game in forever at 5-7, it's a great thing. So I can't say it's all about that, but I think it takes all of us working together to say, what do we really want this to look like as we go forward? And to your point earlier, we literally have an open slate, and we can talk about that. January 23rd, we'll probably start talking about it in depth.
What do you want it to look like? What if Derrick Fox was for a day anointed king of it all?
Well, the annual CFP National Championship game sponsored by Valero would be here.
right here.
in the Alamodome. So we wouldn't have to worry about any road games. We just come right here. We're in the center of the country. Everybody can come. We've invested in the facility.
I think Valero would be okay with that too. Yeah,
absolutely. But I'm certainly bullish on where we are and what our future looks like from our perspective. There's a lot of moving parts right now. But there's a lot good about college athletics and a lot great about college football specifically. Yes, there are issues that we're all going through relative to the coaching changes, the portal, the NIL, teams opting out, players opting out. I mean, players opting out used to be just those handful of players who maybe go into the NFL. It's like, okay, I kind of understand that. Now the portal has had more of an impact on our game last week than anything, because you've got a number of kids who are perfectly able to play. They're just opting to go someplace else.
USC, 12 players or something off their starting lineup.
Yeah, so they had several players who were going pro from that perspective. I get it. Others just get into the portal, and that's just the nature of it. And really, if you talk to these coaches now, it's an hour-to-hour business from that perspective. They're long-range planning.
I can't even. How would I couldn't be a coach. I couldn't do it.
and they like to have a little bit of control of things from that perspective and plan, right? Can you imagine to basically, we talk about it too, the team we take on December 7th is going to be the team that's going to be a different team that actually plays on December 30th.
Yeah.
And that's just a 3-week window of where we fall in this prism of things. And that team on December 30th can be different than the team that actually comes to fall camp and spring ball and then comes out of, spring ball. So it's just a very interesting time. Thank goodness for all the fan support that we all have out there that, that tune on the TV sets and ESPN in our game, that come into our game. You talked about it, 54, almost 55,000. We were like, oh, golly, only 55,000. Then you look around and you go, wow, we're the second highest non-CFP game. So
that was my point.
It's pretty good. So sometimes you got to put it, the lens on it from that perspective. But again, that just goes to show you the kind of support that San Antonio has for the game, the kind of interest people have in coming to San Antonio and the tourism perspective from it. So even in a quote unquote down year, still pretty successful.
Yep. Well, continue to do whatever it is that you're doing.
Well, when you think about 54,000, that's a great crowd,
Yep.
And I'm an old geezer in a lot of ways,
You're just getting started.
I remember when there were 8 bowl games,
right.
When I was a kid, the Orange Bowl, the Peach Bowl, I don't know, you go down your checklist of the Cotton Bowl. And I not that was better times. I'm not saying get off my lawn or anything like that, but it is different when you just see so many, the Poulon Weed Eater Bowl and, all this kind of stuff. After all, one of the great things about the Alamo Bowl is year in and year out, it's a product that succeeds. I mean, and I think a lot of it goes into, and I'm praising you on this, to have those matchups, a TCU against USC. It could have been as opposed to a James Madison against, name your team. And I think that's one of those things that it's a delicate science to put this thing together each and every year. And I applaud you for doing it, because I know how difficult that is. And we haven't had too many games over the years where it's been 56 to whatever, like we saw the other night. So do you, if you had your druthers as far as the where the Alamo Bowl would end up, in a kind of a reestablished CFP, could we get a 16, 15, 14, that level? Can we get in even as the Alamodome is now?
Well, I think as the Alamodome is now, probably not. As the Alamodome that we're all talking about and envisioning and planning for, absolutely. Now, what's that going to look like? I think right now, if you just expand to 16, for example, then they would just put those 2 additional games on campus in the first round.
On campus, okay.
Be no room at the end for us currently. I think one of the challenges I have a little bit with the CFP is, in a competitive environment out there where everybody's looking for money, and I'm not saying that we can outgun everybody, but give us our chance. I mean, right now, the New Year's Six just kind of gets renewed, right? And after that, then we all have to, work our tails off and do our deals to get our rights. Give us a chance to bid, and find out what San Antonio can do. We never get that chance right now because the New Year's Six just kind of renews from that perspective with the CFP, and that's fine. We're not trying to overstep our turf, but that's why we're really trying to push to say, hey, CFP, as you're looking to the future, it may not be this cycle, but in that next cycle, be thinking about us for a CFP, New Year's Six type bowl, definitely a national championship game, and like I said at the very beginning, we got a lot of great momentum. This city has done a lot of great things. Our bowl games performed pretty well in the grand scheme of things. We think we can do even better, especially if we have an updated facility. And again, that's nothing against Alamodome. It's great. I love the facility, what it's done for our community. But if we want to step up our game, this facility's got to step up its game too. And that's really a city decision, not just the city of, obviously, but the city's decision. And we, just going back to, you talk about, I've been around here long enough. we were I believe the 19th bowl game, and there's 42 now. And I remember when I came here and people were looking at me like, cyborg, one eye, like, we need a 19th bowl game. Let me hold our head. But look what it's done.
Right. Yeah. And I want to clarify, because I'm just thinking it's so simplistic to me. It's like, there's more opportunity. If they expand this thing, there's going to be more opportunity. We're right there. We're on the fringes and everything. So I guess it comes back to, and we'll wrap this up here in a second, but I guess it comes back to, we've mentioned the Alamodome improvements time and time again. So again, I'm making you king. What would those be? What does the Alamodome need? Yeah,
I think to be competitive now, you have to have more of the modern amenities and more premium stuff from that perspective, seats, suites. No one would basically build a facility that is now that you have really 1/3 of the stadium is the upper level, and and then 1/3 lower level, and it's not 1/3 in the middle. But you kind of get what I'm saying. I mean, you just the way it's structured, there are just natural levels and breakpoints for yardage, for height, all those different things. So I think that would be the first thing. I think to also make it more interactive, more up to date. And we've done things here to the video walls and the Wi-Fi and those type of things are great. But just to make this a kind of a year-round building, and I know this building is very busy, but to think about it, if all of a sudden people were coming down to actually have lunch at the Dome too, and there are different activities, maybe you have a concert going out because you've got a little stage out here, and then you got several different things going on. So just having additional things. And I think just the additional connectivity, as we look out here and I see the freeway, but imagine, if you will, that we can basically just walk over.
Right.
The land bridge is one of the things that's proposed, may or may not happen, but just that additional connectivity now just makes it that much easier to be a part of. And now if you think about San Antonio, and we talked about it for years, but if you imagine a new Spurs arena, the convention center, the hotels we have, and the Dome basically all being contiguous to the Riverwalk, where else can you do that in this country?
That'd be a blast.
I love it.
I look forward to the world that Derrick Fox is creating.
Yeah,
that's Derrick Fox. He's the president and CEO of the Valero Alamo Bowl, the most successful bowl outside of the CFP.
In San Antonio.
That's Victor Caballero. I'm Richard Oliver. Thanks so much for joining us on Remember the Alamo Dome, Derrick. We sure appreciate it.
Thank you guys for having us.